Okay, we might, doesn't look like anybody else will join us this morning, so that's okay. We might get into it. So welcome, Justine and Louis. Thanks so much for joining us this morning for our very first OFS Deminar. Now, just for a bit of background for yourself, this is our version of a software demo combined with a webinar. My name's Thomas, and I'm the Business Development Director at OFS. So once again, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Now, I know, Louis, I recognise you from our recent OEL event. Justine, I'm not sure if you've been to any of our virtual events recently, but just some sort of general housekeeping. So to begin with, can I, if possible, could I ask that you're able to turn your video cameras on? I'm not sure if that is possible, depending on the, we've just got Declan joining us. Thanks, Justine. Thanks, Louis. Hi, Declan. Nice to have you join us this morning. We just waited a couple of minutes for anybody else to join, so you haven't missed anything at all. We're actually just kicking off with the housekeeping. So what I just mentioned was, if possible, if you could ensure that your cameras remain on, that'd be great, because this is going to be a fairly interactive session, at least towards the end when we open up the floor for some general Q&A. If possible as well, could you please ensure that you're muted, at least for the software demo portion of today's Deminar? And due to the time constraints, I don't intend to go around and have all of us introduce ourselves. However, at the end, when we do open up the Q&A, please feel free to introduce yourself, where you're from, and so on when putting forward any questions. And lastly, with respect to questions, if you are able to save those until the end, that'd be fantastic. However, if there is anything that's pressing or that you'd really like to ask that's relevant to what I'm talking to at the time, if you could just pop that in the chat box, which should be located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Now, in creating this forum, we thought to ourselves, well, how can we make the best use or the most efficient use of everyone's time here today? And hence the birth of the OFS Deminar. So we're committed to holding regular weekly software demos for interested manufacturers to be able to check out OFS in around 30 minutes or less. Now, today's Deminar is not just an opportunity for you to learn more about our software, the OFS software solution, and how that's transforming the way that manufacturers capture, analyze, and store production data for continuous improvement purposes. But it's also an opportunity to consider the way that your business is doing things today, and ask yourself, how much of an impact would these types of new technologies and emerging trends have on your operations? And I'm confident that by the end of this presentation today, you'll have a full appreciation for the impact that OFS can have in your manufacturing operations. So in terms of an agenda and what we plan to uncover today, really it's around two main themes or topics. So firstly, we'll go into a bit of detail around how OFS customers are using OFS to automate data capture from their production lines and their machines, including how they use this data to record and monitor OEE in real time. We'll then take a deeper dive into the OFS Analytics Suite and highlight a few key analytics reports that our customers are using today to help drive and improve efficiency, productivity, and profitability within their manufacturing operations. Now, this will all be covered in the first 20 minutes, but as I mentioned or touched on not long ago, we'll be leaving around 10 minutes at the end to answer any questions that come from you all today. So please remember to keep those questions till the end or post them in the chat box below. Wonderful. So how does a manufacturer really kickstart their journey towards becoming a digital factory? Well, the answer is actually much simpler than you've perhaps previously thought. So solutions like OFS can now be deployed in a matter of days. And the average OFS client is actually getting our software suite up and running in around 5 days or less, because we've actually been able to simplify the entire deployment process. So to put it very simply, what we're actually doing is capturing a couple of machine signals and counts from your production lines and your machines. And we've then got some simple plug and play hardware or kit that then streams these signals and data to OFS in the cloud. So it's all cloud-based and web-enabled. Now, for anyone wanting to have more of a technical discussion around signals and that type of thing post today's Deminar, then please do let me know at the end, and I'd be more than happy to organise some time with each of you offline where we can discuss your particular manufacturing operations in a bit more detail. And I guess to illustrate what I've just described to you, what I've actually got here is a very simplified version or a little animation of a production line. which just sort of shows you how the signals are captured and then streamed via these two simple devices that I referred to before. So now that you can access all of the stunning data and dashboards that I'm about to show you live and in real time from any web-enabled device, so be that a smartphone, an iPad, or any PC, laptop, and so on. So you can see that we're on the left-hand side counting bottles. Those are being collected as signals via a little device, which is then streaming that to OFS, which sits in the cloud. So what do these simple machine signals actually give me? So I guess this is a perfect opportunity for me to now introduce the OFS operator console. So what I'm going to do is actually switch screens. Well, hopefully this should work nice and seamless. And I'll just make that full screen. Perfect. So hopefully you can all see the operator console right now. Now this is a highly intuitive user interface that the operators use to, or it collects information from your machine signals and from your production lines, and combines that with some operator feedback and some information from your people in the business to provide you with some information around the actual running and performance and efficiency of your production line. Now, what I like to start with is the big glaring piece in the middle of the screen, which is our speedometer. And we all drive cars and we know the purpose that they serve for us today. But to put it very simply, this is telling us the real-time running speed of our production line this very second. So you can see that we're actually running just above 20,000 bottles per hour, actually 20,242 bottles per hour. You've also got a little green triangle here, which is indicating what our target or our rated speed is. And so immediately we can see that there's a discrepancy between our target speed and our actual running speed. Now, this speed information comes directly from those signals that I referred to just before. Beneath that, in the blue font here, we can tell what particular SKU or order we're fulfilling at the moment. So we can see here it's our orange fruit juice. And beneath that, we've got some counters. So in the green font, we know how many products or units are being produced. Let's say in a bottling line, how many bottles are exiting the filler. And beneath that in the orange font, we know how many bottles are actually ending up as final goods being sent out to our customer. On the left-hand side here, we've got a couple of machine statuses. So OFS uses a very simple traffic light system. So for example, green being good, meaning that we're running. And you can see here that we've been running for 25 minutes and counting. Above that, we've got our setup clock, which is our orange traffic light. And we can see that we had precisely 34 minutes and 25 seconds in setup for this particular order, being our orange fruit juice. And above that, we've got a red traffic light system, which might be difficult to see just there at the moment. And we've got a blue planned traffic light. So at the moment, you can see that both of our downtime clocks are 0, which indicates that we haven't had any downtime so far on our production line, which is wonderful because downtime's the enemy, but it's probably not realistic. So what I'd like to do, and I'm not sure if you can see me on video at the moment, but I've got some controls here on my phone. And I should point out that this is just a dummy factory. I'm not about to stop any factory anywhere in the world, but I'm going to stop our dummy line here. And immediately you can see that the needle starts to slow down and it'll soon hit 0 on the speedometer here, which is indicating that OFS is recognizing that no more bottles are being filled in this particular example. And by hitting 0, you can see that on the left-hand side here, we're now counting downtime. So anybody that's looking at the OFS software suite, be that an operator, somebody in the office or reception, could immediately tell that this line is currently in a downtime. And this is the first opportunity where we're asking your operator to help you and help your business understand, well, where is that productivity going? Why are we losing productivity right now? So on the right-hand side of the screen, your operators are presented with a list of reasons for this particular line that they're able to select from. Now, in Tom's factory, we're currently producing our orange fruit juice, and I know that we've actually got a labeling issue. And in particular, we've got an issue with the label breakdown, let's say, and we'll hit set reason. Now you can also see this little commentary box beneath that. So when it makes sense to, we'd encourage our operators to provide an additional level of detail or feedback or context about this particular downtime reason. So as an example, the operator might say, since changing label suppliers, we've noticed the adhesive is no longer sticking properly. And they'll now hit enter. And that comment is now stored along with that downtime reason, along with the SKU, our orange fruit juice, for this amount of time, downtime and counting, a minute 49, on this line, on this crew, and for this lead operator. So it's all time-stamped. And in terms of where this information lives and feeds into, it all lives within the OFS Analytics Suite. So how does OFS actually monitor and capture and report on OEE? Well, that's probably a perfect opportunity for me to switch over into the OFS Analytics Suite. So what I'll do now is actually transition into the Analytics Suite. And I'll just take a moment to point out that on the left-hand side, you can get an appreciation for the significant number of reports or reporting functionality that's available to our customers. Now, I don't intend to go through all of these reports by any means, but what I'll do is actually start off with our live dashboard. And one of the biggest benefits or key values for our customers is being able to understand precisely in real time how each of their lines are performing. So this live dashboard does a wonderful job of telling you right now the status of each of your lines. So we've actually just jumped over from line 14, you can see on the right hand side here. And as it says, we're running our orange fruit juice. We've got Kristen Cantor, who's been on shift for the last 1 hour, 2 minutes and 49 seconds and counting, and she's on morning shift. The line, as we just talked through, is in an unplanned downtime because of a labeler breakdown and has been for the last 3 minutes and 4 seconds and counting. Our target speed for the SKU is 24,000 bottles per hour. Obviously, the line is stopped right now. Our scheduled quantity is 60,000 bottles, according to the plan. And so far, we're just over 14.5% through that particular order. And beneath that, we've got our real-time OEE metrics. So we've got an OEE right now of 34.1%, our availability of 40.8%, our performance of 84.6%, and our quality of 98.8%. Now, folks, I don't intend to go through the nuances of OEE. I'm going to assume that we're all familiar with this efficiency measurement method. But if there is any questions around OEE, please pop that in the chat and I'd be more than happy to cover that off at the end. But I can assure you that OFS captures and reports an OEE to a tremendous level of detail. Now, all of the information that I've been able to talk you through right here flows on and is displayed in all of the other reports. So what I'd like to do is jump into one of our summary reports here, and we'll jump into a line by crew report, which could also be described as a daily shift report. And I'm just going to collapse that pane on the left-hand side, and let's zoom in a little bit, just make that a bit easier to see. So all of our reports are able to be sliced and diced and configured in a way that gives you, Declan, the information that you want to see versus you, Justine. You might be looking at the exact same report as Louis, but you might slice and dice that information so that it is presented in a different format visually. But what I want to establish from this particular report is to understand which of my lines is running the most efficiently. So in the top right-hand side here, you can configure these reports. You can identify exactly which lines you want to perform this analysis across. I've taken off line 14 and we'll narrow it down to these 3 lines. You've got the ability to select a date range. I've selected the first 2 weeks in June in 2015. And the reason being that we've got some real data that I can actually talk to here from a customer that's been anonymized for the purposes of a demo like this. So we'll hit OK and wait for that to buffer. Now, I've ranked this report by the column of OEE. So I want our most efficient line to appear at the top. And I can see that line 3 is our most efficient line, according to this. So 86.01% of OEE, followed by line 2 and followed by line 1. Now, if we scan our eye or run our eye over all of the variables that impact our OEE, we can see at a very high level that quality appears fairly consistent across the 3 lines at or around 100% for each of them. Whilst if we have a look at our speed and our availability, they look relatively consistent, at least for line 3 and 2. Whereas if we look at line 1, our biggest area of opportunity appears to be in our availability. So there's around 20 to 25% opportunity there in our availability alone. Now, in terms of narrowing in on all of the instances or occurrences that have resulted in an availability of 74.12%, what I'd like to do is jump into a reason report, and we'll be able to actually break that down and understand exactly where our opportunities lie. So again, I'll collapse that pane on the left-hand side, and we've got the same parameters up here. So 2 weeks at the start of June in 2015, and we've got the same line selection. So remember here that we're looking at, we've come in to look at line 1A, which had 74.12% availability. Now, everything should be accessible in the space of 2 to 3 clicks. So very easily, we should be able to narrow in on exactly where we're losing time and how we can actually start improving and making changes to affect our availability and obviously our overall efficiency too. So the way that this report has been configured is to display in by line how much time we're losing according to lost time. Now, lost time being a combination of setup time, unplanned downtime, planned downtime, as well as run speed gains and losses. So if we look at line 1A, we can click in here, and in the space of 1 click, we can see, well, there was 84 hours, 17 minutes, and 9 seconds of lost time on line 1 in this 2-week period. 50 hours, 2 minutes, and 14 seconds were as a result of planned downtime. And then 25 hours, 24 minutes, and 15 seconds are as a result of unplanned downtime. Now, we're going to dive into our unplanned downtime because this tends to be the things that most people want to sink their teeth into right at the get-go. So again, in the space of 1 click, I can start to break down that 25 hours and establish exactly what's causing us the most amount of unplanned downtime on line 1. And immediately we can see that the filler is our biggest cause of unplanned downtime. 16 hours, 17 minutes, and 50 seconds, which is almost 4 times as much downtime than our next biggest category, which is our stacking. So again, if we want to get a bit more granular, we can click into filler once more, and we can actually see it's in fact our bottom formation that's causing us the most amount of unplanned downtime within our filler. And now we're starting to form a bit of a picture to have the right conversations with the right people in the business, be they maintenance, be they engineering, as to how can we actually fix this bottom formation issue and then measure the impact of any changes that we make on the efficiency of our production line. But before doing that, what you might like to do is actually click on that bottom formation issue. And at the bottom here, we're presented with each of the individual instances where the bottom formation has resulted in an unplanned downtime. And if we scroll over to the right-hand side here, we're presented with all of the comments that have been attached to that particular downtime reason. And if we select just one of these and click on our events chart, excuse me, we jump into our events view. Now, this is a running timeline of our factory, and we can actually dive into the particular instance when this downtime occurred. So we can see here this red box here, bottom formation issue. And this was a 41-minute, 14-second unplanned downtime because of the filler category and the bottom formation issue that we referred to. And we can see that Elsa told us on the 4th of June at 7:07 in the morning that there was a jam up due to the sleeve not feeding off, on or off. The Mandel track 3 properly supplies working. Now, hopefully from that, you can get an appreciation for how OFS collects some simple machine signals and data and counts from your production line, and that combined with some operator feedback paints for a far better, bigger, brighter picture. And we're now starting to understand the data that we have available to us in real time to be able to make better, more informed, smarter decisions. But another really neat opportunity for us, just while we're on this report, is within our running slow here. So if we just run our eye across here, we can see that in this 2-week period on this single line, we had 8 hours, 44 minutes, and 43 seconds where the line was running slow. Now that is when the line has been running significantly below our target speed. Now, this is a high-speed filler in this particular line, running 25,000 bottles an hour, and I guess for the purposes of being able to do a calculation and for my maths, we're going to round this down to 8 hours, let's say. So if that was 8 hours of running slow, we've got the ability to run 25,000 bottles per hour. That's around 200,000 bottles that we've not been able to produce because we've been running slow. Now, from a financial aspect, from a capacity aspect, I'm sure you can all appreciate what that means for your business. And running slow is very often not something that's being recorded on manual timesheets. And we're really pleased that we can provide that level of detail to all of our customers. Now I'm just going to come back to the presentation here. Wonderful. So I'm obviously very conscious of the amount of time that we have here today and wanting to ensure that I leave enough time at the end for us to answer any questions. But before doing so, you've obviously just seen our product and you've been able to see the opportunity that's available to all of our customers at the moment. But I just wanted to reiterate that what we do offer is a free trial of the OFS software solution. And because it's taken up in the coming weeks, we'll actually run through until the end of January 2021. So what we would do is we would loan you those two simple pieces or devices that would enable us to acquire some signals from your production line. That would be complemented by our free training that is delivered by our wonderful customer success team. So if this is something that interests you, then please do reach out. I'll leave my details towards the end of this presentation. But other than that, what I would love to do is feedback. But before doing so, I just wanted to once again thank you very much for all of your time today. I obviously thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity to take you through a very high level presentation of our software and a bit of an introductory version of our software demo. And I should point out that the OFS software suite is a comprehensive software suite, and with just 20 minutes, what I've done there is really just taking you through a high level overview of the software and some of the basics. So with that all said, yeah, I'd love to answer any questions that you might have from what you've seen today.
Hi, Thomas. I've got a question to ask. We run one production line here. So how many devices would you recommend on an average production line?
So for a single production line, you'd be looking at a minimum of 2 devices. So in terms of going into any detail around those devices, we're talking about a little PLC, about the size of an old school mobile phone, probably. And that's simply just collecting signals from your production line. There's a number of channels available on those PLCs, and they acquire the signal and then as I said before, sort of stream that data up to the cloud. So you'd be looking at 1 PLC and 1 4G router. If you then expand onto a second line, it's not just a case of just saying, okay, well, another 2 devices for that line and so on. So 1 PLC device has the ability to take up to 4 lines.
Right, and then how many operators would run iPads off that? Would you just like your main control points? Is that how it operates?
Yeah, so the majority of our customers set up the user interface at their existing workbench where they're currently recording manual data. There is no limit to the amount of interfaces that you can have, depending on the length of the line. Some of our customers might have an interface at the very start or at the beginning of the line, and then another one at the back end of the line. But at a minimum, yes, you would just require 1 iPad or PC to be able to interact with.
Okay, so you more or less have 1 operator, like when you were doing that report where you had the breakdowns where it was filler or whatever, the same operator could do it. You don't just really have an iPad for each location there.
That's right, yes. So 1 interface that all operators can interact with and provide feedback via.
And you find that the iPads last an 8-hour shift using the OFS system running?
Yeah, I guess it all depends on your particular setting, but the majority of our customers use like a dedicated HMI, so it's got it's powered on and plugged in for on a full-time basis.
Yep.
For those of our customers that are using an iPad or a tablet, there tends to be still like a docking station or something that's very close by for them to be able to dock that and ensure that it's charged.
Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for your questions. Louis, Declan, was there anything from your side in terms of wanting to understand any more detail?
Where does the information come for like the work order size and all that sort of side of things?
Yeah, so great question, Declan. So all of the jobs and the SKU data comes so as from an initial import. So we have an administration tool called Fusion Manager, which is where all of our customers can manage their data. So continue to bring in new SKUs if you're running out lines or SKUs and they no longer are produced by the business. You can obviously take those out so that they don't appear in OFS, but you can manage all of that data on a basis that works for you, be that daily, weekly, monthly. For some of our customers, it'll look into advance and go to the next steps. We do offer an integration with their scheduling or their planning tools that they're using. So that's also an option.
So you can import it from what, like a CSV file or something like that, can you?
Yeah, so it's the specifics of it are an XML file, but yes, if that system can provide it on a basis, on a frequency that works for the business, then yes, we can read that data and update the order information within OFS accordingly. Any other questions from anybody else? Louis, did you have anything that you wanted to understand in any more detail?
No, not really. I'm just keen to look at the demo and we can go from there.
Wonderful. So Louis, are you wanting to schedule like a different session where I can take you through it in a bit more detail? Is that what you have in mind?
Yeah, potentially. Well, probably get together some of our major stakeholders as well.
Of course.
But
okay.
I'll work with you offline.
No problem. So what I've just done there is change to a different screen. So you've got all of my details there. Please feel free to reach out to me directly, or you can go via our sales at ofsystems.com inbox. And yes, we'll be in touch on the back of that.
Awesome.
Lovely. Thanks so much for all of your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Thomas.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thomas.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.